Gabriel had the wind knocked out of him, but this had happened many times, too many to count, and he instinctively took a large breath to inflate his lungs. Dragging himself out of the dirt, he felt a stinging sensation in his chest. Gabriel remembered it well. He would get a nice big bruise there. The Carnodon was an entirely different beast from the Vetoru, and not just in morphology. Whereas they would have taken a moment to plan their next attack, the Carnodon simply charged. Gabriel knew that the Carnodon was not as heavy as it appeared. It was roughly as big as an Asian elephant, yet was only a fourth of the weight. However, that meant it still massively outweighed him, and he wisely jumped out of the way rather than take it on. His plan for this was simply outlasting it, banking on what he assumed was his superior stamina until the beast could no longer move, and hope that the rescue effort would arrive and either shoot it or trank it. The Carnodon took a swipe at him, and Gabriel deftly dodged it, though as he did, he was reminded of his injured leg. The adrenaline pumping through his system was doing much to dull the pain, but it was still there, and it gave him a handicap Gabriel could do without. Fate decided at that moment that his situation was not complicated enough. Pista, who was presently in awe of what she saw, forgot what danger she was in. Attempting to get a better look at the action, she stepped too far into a thin branch and repeated what got her into this mess. However, this time she reacted fast enough to cling onto the trunk. As the branch snapped and fell to the ground with a thud, the Carnodon looked straight at her. The creature decided that she would be a far easier meal, charging the tree. Now forced to act, Gabriel charged the beast, put all his strength into a punch, and clocked it straight in the temple. Everyone, the onlookers, Nish, Pista, the keepers, and even Gabriel himself, were utterly astounded as the beast tumbled down from the force of his blow. His hand stung as it absorbed the recoil. At that precise moment, Gabriel felt like a demigod. But the moment was just that, a moment. And as the Carnodon got to his feet, he realized that he had just given himself no room to maneuver. It pounced on top of him, and Gabriel could feel the beast's weight. It mauled him, clawing and biting at every spot he could get to. Like for the Vetoru, the suit proved impenetrable, but unlike them, this animal was far more effective. Gabriel felt a sharp pain, and he was sure it was caused by a broken bone, though he was too disoriented to determine where it was. All he could see were teeth trying their hardest to crack his skull. That's the whiskers. Whiskers! Filled with focus, Gabriel grabbed as many as he could and yanked them from the Carnodon's face using all his strength. As the hair and the deep nerves they were attached to were wrenched from his body, the Carnodon stopped his attack, yelped like a dog, and used his forearms to try and ease the burning pain it now felt. As the animal whined, something snapped in him, and Gabriel roared once more. Unlike the last time, this was not the theatrics of someone playing a part, but rather the pure emotion of rage. Once again, he struck the beast. This time, he felt nothing. The Carnodon staggered, his punch having disorientated the animal, and Gabriel did not let up for a moment. He wanted this thing dead. Gabriel punched it once more, this time on the forehead, and the beast fell to his knees. As it did so, he stuck his feet in his mouth, several of the teeth snapping as he did so, and grabbed the animal's jaw. Heaving with all his might, he lifted the beast's mouth. It gave some resistance, but it was pointless. There was a sickening crack as the jaw was dislocated and nearly torn from the skull. The Carnodon fell to the ground. Whether it was dead or had been knocked unconscious by the pain, Gabriel did not know and did not care. Gabriel collapsed to his knees, panting heavily. Now that the source of his rage was gone, the sensations the state had kept suppressed were starting to come back. He so dearly wanted to just collapse in a heap. He had done enough. But Gabriel knew he could not. While the Tafanda girl was in the enclosure, she was still in danger. Grasping the ground in the death grip, he hauled himself back to his feet, putting up clumps of dirt and plant matter as he did. Gabriel trudged back to the tree, panting heavily. He said, "You can come down now." The Tafanda did not move immediately, and Gabriel was already trying to figure out how he could convince her. Then the alien moved. Slowly she clambered down the tree trunk, with a surprising amount of grace, Gabriel noted. As the child came within arm's reach, Gabriel held his arms out, and without wasting a beat, the little Tafanda jumped into them and held Gabriel tight, grunting as the girl held on as tightly as she could, and the added pressure played havoc on his wounds. Though perhaps little was not the right word. Judging from her behaviour, she was at the developmental stage of a 5 to 6 year old human, but she was as large as a human teenager. Even by human standards, Gabriel was not a tall man, and he imagined that if the scenario were not so dire, the whole situation would be somewhat comical. The child made faint buzzing noises, which Gabriel guessed were the Tafanda's equivalent to sniffles. Despite their size, they weighed next to nothing, which Gabriel was thankful for. He was just about ready to collapse. Gabriel followed the moat. He recalled seeing the staff path to the west, and if he followed the water, eventually he would reach the gate. The enclosure had to have a gate. The habitat needed maintenance, and drones could only do so much. Gabriel saw something move out of the corner of his eye. The Vetoru were back, but unlike last time, they made no move to attack or box them in. They had witnessed what Gabriel had done. something not even the entire pack would have been capable of, and they knew better than to pick another fight. They still hated him for what he had done, hated him even more now that they had killed their partner. Survival instincts took over, though. The pack would escort him out of their territory, and, if they were capable of it, pray they never met again. Glancing up, Gabriel saw the child's mother following them, along with the 2 keepers and a small crowd of interested onlookers. As he did, Gabriel saw a small group of keepers arrive, equipped with guns, ropes, and other equipment. "Now you show up," Gabriel mumbled with a sigh. Pearson heard what the alien said, but could not be bothered to look up. They were warm and soft, and she just wanted to see Mummy and go to sleep. Each step they took lulled Pearson further and further into dreamland. This grating sound was enough to pull her head off the alien's shoulder. Looking right at her was the wonderful face of her mother, nothing but relief on her face. "Mummy!" Pearson yelled, and then he flung herself into Nish's arms. Holding her daughter as tightly as she could, Nish spent a few minutes just rocking her daughter back and forth, before opening her eyes to find that the human was still there. The debt of gratitude she owed this person was incalculable, but for now, all she could offer was, "Thank you for saving my daughter." The human nodded his head, in reply, "You are welcome." The Aeogeus arrived a few minutes after Gabriel sat down on a bench, and tried his hardest to relax. Even as his wounds were tended, he kept his attention focused on the child. In doing so, he learned she was a girl, and both her name and her mother's name. Pearson seemed fine, just a few minor scrapes. The paramedics had given her some plasters and medicine, just some coloured sugar water to make the pain disappear. Gabriel, however, was in far worse shape. He had a lot of severe bruising on just about every part of his body. He had torn several muscles in his exertions, and 3 of his ribs were cracked. What made it all the more troubling was, 1, the paramedics could not remove his suit to treat him, and secondly, even if they could, none of them were qualified to do it. It seemed whoever had made the call had left out that little nugget of information, and had to watch as the paramedics asked him for a 5th time if morphine was indeed a painkiller, and not a euthanasia drug for humans. "In large enough doses, yes. Just don't give me the ambulance's entire supply," explained Gabriel. While the suit might seem to make the administration of the morphine impossible, the engineers who designed it had thought of this. Located on the back of the hands were 2 small pads that would allow a needle to be inserted to administer medicine. The paramedics hooked the suit up to the ambulance's computer, and the suit responded by seizing his hand and massaging it until a vein was found. Gabriel was not afraid of needles, quite the opposite. He actively looked forward to his vaccinations. The idea of being near enough immune to the deadliest killers Earth had to offer was appealing to him. Regardless, something about having something puncturing his hand left him squeamish. He was a big boy, though, and he let the medics get to work. Gabriel felt the needle, and then what felt like someone grasping his hand. This was another of the suit's functions, preventing large amounts of blood pooling inside. "Now, Mr. Hatley, we just need you to lie down on the stretcher, and we will take you to Warutteri Hospital," explained the paramedic. Gabriel did as instructed, eager to get some rest after the whole ordeal. He winced and sucked in air through his teeth as his ribs complained. The paramedics asked if he was okay, but he dispelled their worries and simply asked for a bit of help getting onto his back. As the ambulance started to move, he closed his eyes and said, "Haven't even been here a week, and I've already needed a trip to the doctors."